Hey guys, number 2 for the week. So we're still in section 27 because this is 3, there's some really good stuff in there, and there's only 2 sections this week, not a lot of reading, and the verses here that we're going to talk about with the armour of God, you can really pull these apart. Now, in the Come Follow Me manual, it's really cool. Should have had this ready. I thought I did. Never mind. No, that's last week. Pretty picture of Emma, by the way, for last week. There's some really nice ones. But there's a cool little video you can watch from Elder Robert D. Hales before he passed away. And you can see he's quite sick in it. But it's a really, really good thing about him remembering the sacrament and his, well, just not so much the sacrament really, but it ties in with the armour of God and what his father taught him. And it's a really cool little story. It's 3 minutes long, the video. Really good one to show to your kids, not too long. And you can use this. So this is in the Come Follow Me manual. Very Romanesque, very gladiator type thing, but it's armour. There's plenty of online resources for kids around armour of God. They're all very cutesy and you get the idea. You're colouring in, there's all sorts of things you can do there. But if you don't have that and you've got the book, you know, because you're old school, like most of us are, you know, put that up. Put that up in your house somewhere. Tear it out of the book, put it up in the house. Or put a copy up in the house, whatever you got there, and talk about it. Have a look at it every day and talk about each one of the things. So we're going to do that briefly now. But there's some good resources there, and there's some great ones online. Because it's also found over in, I want to say Ephesians. I think that's right, yeah. Ephesians 6 is the armour of God, big long thing on that. So there's not just our church has resources, but generally there's resources on this thing. So there's some really good things to use. I'm sure you'll find something exciting for your family. However, what happens in the rest of the verses after he talks about not using wine, because it's not good for us, really, that you can use anything, it doesn't matter, just, you know, if alcohol was the only thing that you had to use, I don't know, that's a tough question. I guess that would be a call at the time. But he's encouraging you to not use strong drink because it's just not good for your body. And it isn't. I mean, I've been there. It ain't good for my body. Right. So, we're going to go to verse 15. And, you know, like before I read this, you start thinking about, in a revelation about the sacrament, why does he then go on to talk about the armour of God? He fills in a bunch of verses. Remember, there's an angel talking as if the Lord was talking about the actual sacrament where we're going to have with Jesus at the end. Awesome. And who's going to be at that top table, sacrament table. So cool. And verse 10 talks about, gives some names, Isaac, Abraham, Jacob, and says, by whom the promises remain. And that's covenant Israel, that's us. So we're going to be there. So that's really cool. And a bunch of people talks about that. So that's just information, really. And then, well, you can still learn from it, but there's information there. Then you go on to 15 through the end of it, 18. But we're just going to read verse 15, which says, wherefore lift up your hearts and rejoice, and gird up your loins, and take upon you my whole armour, the whole thing, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, having done all, that ye may be able to stand. Now, I love that word stand. Because like if you're lying down or you're sitting down, you're sort of, I don't know, like if you're looking at it as from an attack point of view, because this is what we're talking about, metaphorical armor. If you're looking at it from an attack point of view or being a vulnerable point of view, standing is a much stronger position. Standing indicates that you're like ready and strong. So if you look at it like that, we're talking spiritually. So, you know, like, I've got some very strong friends who can't stand, literally. They just don't. Stuck in wheelchairs or with no limbs, and it is a thing. I'm not talking like that. I'm talking metaphorically. So, yeah, in a revelation about the sacrament, why does the angel of God teach about the armour of God? So the sacrament's a weekly and often reminder and commitment to wear the armour of God. It's a polishing of the armour. It's like refining the armor, recommitting to wearing it. You could tie a lot of things into it, but it goes together. The weekly partaking of the sacrament, or as often as you can right now during COVID, given, that really plays into the armor of God. And the whole thing kind of is cyclical and goes together. And there's other things in there too, like, reading scriptures and other things you can do at home, because that's where you forge your armor of God, is in your home space. So stand spiritually is hard when we keep getting knocked down, right? It's hard. It's power to keep getting up and to stand on his promise, that rock that will keep us strong. So stand on that promise. And the next verse starts off to stand, and we're going to cover that, number 3. There's a song from Mercy River that I love about standing on his promise. And I'm going to put that on Facebook, and I'll try and link it somehow into Instagram and on YouTube, if you actually watch this on YouTube, for the 1 or 2 people that do. However, the quote, this one comes from Brad Wilcox. It says, when one takes on the armor of God, fear retreats into the shadows. And that's a really simple way to put it, and I love that from Brad Wilcox. Thank you. Currently on our General Young Men's presidency. Very awesome dude. When one takes on the armor of God, fear retreats into the shadows. So the armor of God's important. So have a study of that. We're going to talk about it again and go into a little more detail. But that Mercy River song, I should have had the lyrics again. Really bad prepared this week, and I apologise for that. But I'll try and link it in, because it's probably better to listen to them singing it than me just saying it, because their voices are amazing, and my voice is not. So there you go. Okay, so that's that one, and I'll see you in a bit for number 3, and we'll talk more about the armor of God.